Okay guys, this is going to be the first video in a series of videos looking at wrist injuries and wrist injury prevention. Today I'm just going to be looking at one common wrist problem which a lot of people will have come across at some stage. We're going to talk a little bit about the anatomy involved so you can see why it's happening, and then we're just going to look at one or two treatment ideas, which is basically just going to be a few easy stretches you can do yourself and hopefully get you back to lifting at 100%. I will say just before we do go on that if you are having any wrist pain, I would recommend that you stop any of the exercises which are aggravating it. That doesn't mean you have to stop training completely. You can find alternatives. For example, if you're getting pain when you're benching, switch to press ups on your fists, for example. If you're getting pain back squatting, switch to a front squat where you hold the bar with your hands above here. There are plenty of alternatives you can use, but really it's best to have the time off, let the inflammation go down, let the wrist repair and recover, and then you can start implementing those exercises in. Again, with the treatment that we're going to be talking about, because there's no point having the time off and then going back to lifting as you were before. You need to get down to the cause of the pain, treat it, and then when you do come back, it should no longer be an issue because you've actually got down to the real root cause of the pain in the first place. Okay, so to start off with, just a bit of basic anatomy of the forearm. So you've got two bones here, you've got your ulna and your radius. The movement at the forearm is pronation and supination. That's pronation and supination. That's basically the radius sliding or gliding over the ulna. Now, the movement at the wrist itself is flexion and extension, flexion and extension. Also does something called ulnar deviation and radial deviation, but that's not too important at this stage. So, what happens if we go to grab a bar? Again, the problem I'm talking about is often going to be seen at first in straight bar curls rather than S bar curls or pull-ups. Okay, it's really common for people to have pain in their wrist when doing straight bar curl. Okay, so at the wrist you've got pronation and supination. If you go to supinate your wrist in order to do a straight bar curl and you cannot achieve a good level of supination, what happens is the bar will be placed here, all the stress, all the weight will be pushed down on your hand here, and your hand will be trying to grip the bar like that, but it won't be able to, and what will be happening is the wrist will be twisting. Now, as I said before, the forearm pronates and supinates, the wrist itself flexes and extends. The wrist should not twist, okay? There are lots of tendons and ligaments which go across this joint. It's not a twisting joint. There will be a little bit of give, but if you start to put a heavy weight on there, 20, 30, 40, 50 kilos, and that starts to twist the wrist at the joint here, these tendons, ligaments are going to become inflamed. Once they become inflamed, the wrist is a very small, delicate joint. It's easy for that inflammation to spread, and then you'll be getting pain with all sorts of other exercises. So it will go from curls to chin-ups to presses to squats to anything that pretty much involves the wrist, and that's going to be nearly all the exercises there are. So if you are getting a little bit of pain there, it will be good to sort this out. So one easy stretch you can do is basically tuck your elbow into your side, grab your forearm, and you just want to twist it round like this. So what we're doing with this stretch, we're basically trying to get a good level of supination so that when you go to grab the bar, you can grab it with no issues, and so that no stress, twisting force will go through this wrist, because again, this isn't meant to twist, the twist comes from here, up here, okay? So I would recommend you doing this maybe 3 times at the start of the workout for 30 seconds, 3 times at the end of the workout for 30 seconds. And if you are someone with very tight pronators and you're stuck in this position, do them every day, okay? The other place where the issue can originate from is the shoulder, okay? So I'm sat here, I've got good supination in my wrist, stood here, sorry, got good supination in my wrist. I'm externally rotated, I'm standing with good posture. Now, if I start to medially rotate my shoulders, which is this small movement here, look what's happening to my wrists. I've got good supination, but they're coming in and they're twisting across like this, okay? So good supination, medial rotate of the wrist. I'm back at square one with that problem, with all the weight coming through this part of the hand, twisting at the wrist, and that's going to cause more pain and issues for you. So your medial rotators, your chest, your anterior delts, and also a lot of people don't realise, but your lats are quite strong medial rotators. So those are three muscles that you really want to stretch in order to achieve that good laterally, externally rotated position, okay? A lot of weight trainers are too medial rotated, and so not only will this cause problems with the shoulders, but as we just talked about, it will cause issues for the wrist. So I'll make a video on shoulder injury prevention itself. We'll probably do a little series on that as well. But just for now, stretch these muscles and get your externally rotators strong, okay? Research that yourself, but we'll go into a detailed video at some point, okay? So this stretch, stretching these muscles here, strengthening your supinators, obviously, that will also help. Strengthening your external rotators, that will also help. Another good stretch, this is one of my favourites, is hand comes across here. If you are getting pain, I probably wouldn't do this because it is going to apply some sort of twisting through the wrist, but it's mainly to open up your pronators and also your muscles of your thumb here, okay? And that's just coming down like this, and for me that's not painful, but when I did have a wrist injury, this was a painful one, so it's one I would avoid. The only other thing, quite obvious, warm your wrists up a lot, so that's lots of this back and forth. Gentle stretches before all workouts, because a warm joint, warm tendons, warm ligaments, warm muscles are going to be more flexible, and so that if you do get a little bit of twist in there, a warm joint is not going to have any issues with that. A cold joint is going to have issues with that, and it's going to become inflamed, it's going to get painful, the inflammation is going to spread, and it's going to affect all your other exercises as well. So yeah, I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover in that first video. We will look at some more wrist injuries at a later date, and also just general wrist flexibility stuff. Okay, cheers.